Good morning, students. I hope you all have watched the previous video of this chapter. So, children, we came to know about the perspective of people towards education in past. We also got to know that in earlier times, girls were not allowed to study. But now, the scenario is changed. Today, both boys and girls attend schools in large numbers. However, the main striking feature is that we still see some differences between the education of girls and boys. As we all know that after every 10 years, the population of the country is counted. The census also collects detailed information about the people living in India, their age, schooling, what work they do, and so on. We use this information to measure many things like the number of literate people and the ratio of men and women. According to the 1961 census, about 40% of all boys and men who are 7 years old and above were literate. By literate, I mean they could at least write their names. In comparison to this, the literate girls and women were just 15%. In the most recent census of 2011, these figures have grown to 82% for boys and men and 65% for girls and women. This means that the proportion of literate boys and girls have hiked up considerably. But what we can notice is that the number of boys is still higher than that of girls. The gap has not gone away. Here is a table that shows the percentage of girls and boys who leave schools from different social groups, including scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. We can easily notice that SC and ST girls leave school at a rate that is higher than the all girls category. This means that girls who are Dalit and Adivasi are less likely to remain in school. The 2011 census also found that Muslim girls are less likely than SC and ST to complete primary school, while a Muslim girl is likely to stay in school for around 3 years. Girls from other communities spend around 4 years in school. There are several reasons behind children of Dalit, Adivasi, and Muslim communities leaving school. In many parts of the country, especially in rural and poor areas, there may not even be proper schools, no teachers who teach on a regular basis. If a school is not close to people's home and there is no transport like buses or vans, parents may not be willing to send their girls to schools. Many families are too poor and cannot afford to educate their children. Boys may get preference in this situation. Many children also leave school because they are discriminated against by their teacher and classmates. Children, do you remember the case of Om Prakash Valmiki? Yes, he is the author of Juthan. He can be considered the example of such discrimination. Taking women's case into consideration, their situation is much better now as they have the right to study and go to school. In addition to this, many legal reforms like in violence and health contributed to this improvement. How do you think these changes have happened? Now, spontaneously or in a day, but women individually and collectively have struggled to bring about these changes. This struggle is known as women's movement. Individual women and women's organizations from different parts of the country are part of the movement. Many men support the women's movement as well. The diversity, passion, and efforts of those involved makes it a very vibrant movement. Different strategies have been used to spread awareness, fight discrimination, and seek justice. First among all these strategies is campaigning. These play an important part in women's movement. Campaigns have also led to new laws being passed. For example, a law was made in 2006 to give some legal protection to the women who face physical and mental violence within their homes. This violence is also called domestic violence. Similarly, efforts made by the women's movement led the Supreme Court to formulate guidelines in 1997 to protect women against sexual harassment at workplace and within educational institutions. For example, in the 1980s, women's groups across the country spoke against dowry deaths. Now, you all must be thinking, what are dowry deaths? These are cases of young brides being murdered by their in laws or husbands in the greed of more dowry. Women's group spoke out against the failure to bring these cases to justice. They did so by coming on to the streets, approaching the courts, and by sharing information. Eventually, this became a public issue in the newspapers and society, and the dowry laws were changed to punish families who seek dowry. Another way is to raise awareness on women's right issue. Their message has been spread through street plays, songs, and public meetings. Moreover, protesting is also an effective method. Women groups raise her voice when violations against women take place, or, for example, when a law or policy acts against their interests. Public rallies and demonstrations are a very powerful way of drawing attention to injustice. Furthermore, when one group of people support another because their aims are same, the movement becomes even more effective. This support for one another is also known as solidarity.